afternoon. On behalf of the World Trade Center Shamshabad and Visakhapatnam, I extend a very warm welcome to Ms. Jennifer Larson, Consul General, United, uh, United States Consulate General, Hyderabad, and also to the distinguished speakers and esteemed delegates and friends from the media. I take this opportunity to also thank Ms. Jennifer Larson for gracing this event with her presence. I know you have a very busy schedule, but thank you for coming down, ma'am. Thank you. Before I begin a presentation or a talk about my World Trade Center, I would like to inform you that this event is basically to promote Fairfax County as a destination for investments. Fairfax County, has many corporates in their county, and this would be a good destination to consider for investments and expansion plans. About the World Trade Center Shamshabad. World Trade Center Shamshabad is part of the World Trade Center Association, which is headquartered in New York. And World Trade Centers Association is a global network of 314 World Trade Centers in 92 plus countries. And at the World Trade Center, we work very closely. All the World Trade Centers work very closely with the U.S. commercial services in respective regions and act as their extended arm. As per the survey conducted by WTCA in 2019, the network accounted for more than 35% of global GDP and accounted for 244 billion of FDI in respective regions. The goal of WTCA is to help the local economies thrive to encourage and facilitating trade and investment across the globe. Through member engagement, the World Trade Center Association stimulates trade and investment opportunities for international businesses looking to connect globally and prosper locally. As we all know that Telangana is the home to more than 10 of the most valued companies, corporates in the world. And WTC Shamshabad is aligned with the objectives of the US commercial services to further strengthen the trade and investment between US and Telangana. More information about our services is available in the delegate kit, so you can go through it as and when convenient. We are also grateful to US Commercial Services for the continuous support and guidance in our endeavor to help the local entrepreneurs expand their global presence. Some of the activities that we propose to organize with the support of US Commercial Services are sectoral delegations, inbound and outbound, joint programs with economic development boards and regions such as Fairfax, Delaware, Indianapolis. These are in the future, and also come out with knowledge reports for respective regions as such. I would like to also mention that World Trade Center Shamshabad will be ready by 2025. We are coming up with 2.5 million square feet of space, commercial space, and a hotel in the first phase, and the second phase will have 1.5 million square feet. Lastly, as part of our green initiative, the World Trade Center Shamshabad has started a campaign to honor our guests for events with a green certificate. A thicket of 5 trees are planted in Kapil Agro Farms, which is a group company, and in the name of the guests, and we will, it will be taken care till they are self-sustained as such. I conclude my address by thanking Andrew and his team, and Julie and her team for the support and making us part of this event. Now, before we go to the next address, can I hand over the green certificates? May I request our chairman, Sri Varaprasad Reddy Garu, to come on the stage? May I request the council general? Now, may I request Mr. Andrew to come onto the stage, please? May I request Dr. Krishna Prasad Garu to come to the stage, please? May I request Ms. Zeenat? May I request Mr. Niranjan Garu to come onto the stage? May I request Mr. Srini Baireddy Garu? And finally, Ms. Juhi, our partner. Please come. Thank you. Normally, this is done at the end of the event, but unfortunately, some people have to leave early, so I had to do it. I had to prepone it. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dev.
Entire Fairfax EDA team India. I, Dave Malik, would like to extend a warm welcome. Thanks for taking out the time to join us today. Thanking WTC and Davies. Pleased to have star partners like you. Power to enhance economic growth by facilitating opportunities for you people like today. Thank you so much, Mr. Akhilesh, and to the whole WTC team for their tremendous efforts and supporting our objective of assisting India to set up the presence into the US. My big thanks to our old yet special partner, the event sponsor Davies and Associates, Zenith and Sukanya. I must say that the contribution from both WTC and Davies is indeed vital and not just limited to this one activity of assisting all the entrepreneurs, executives, and experts among you. Uh, India has always been an all-round nation as the world's biggest democracy, and in that, Hyderabad is indeed a vital supporter. The home to a perfect blend of new businesses and established enterprises across the sectors, backed by the strong talent pool, effectively contributing to the emerging infrastructure and the connectivity of the beautiful city. And these are a few similarities between the two amazing locations of Fairfax County and Hyderabad: talent, infrastructure, and connectivity. As I always love to, and I'll say, every one of us love to start with hitting a high note. It's my absolute privilege to introduce to you our guest of honor and keynote speaker of this amazing gathering, our distinguished guest, U.S. Consulate General for Hyderabad, Jennifer Larson, coming from the prestigious clan of dignitaries, government advisory chair, who has leveraged her wide diplomacy experience of almost 20 years to grow the US India relationship deeper and broader. She has recently assumed the diplomacy leadership. Before that, she had served the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs in Washington, D.C., along with Libya, Pakistan, France, Sudan, Lebanon, with others. She's going to definitely give you all indeed some actionable ideas about how each of you can succeed in your objectives of US expansion. And without further ado, I request you all to please put your hands together for a warm welcome for the new US Consul General for Hyderabad, Jennifer Larson.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dev. Thank you very much for that introduction. And thank you to Juhi and to Fairfax County for the invitation to join you all today. I'm delighted to be part of this roadshow to highlight Fairfax County as an attractive and meaningful destination or investment destination. And thank you to the WTC for Shamshabad and to Davies as well, and for the lovely gesture of the tree planting for all of us here. That's really something that I think is really, really necessary, especially in such a growing and vibrant metropolis like Hyderabad is. I think those of you who have not been to Fairfax County, Virginia, would be struck by just the copious natural beauty and the mountains that are part of the landscape there. It's not just a great place to do business, it's a great place to live for your employees, for example. It's a prime destination on the east coast of the United States. It's only 15 miles west of our nation's capital. 3 major airports. You have Washington Dulles, Baltimore, and Ronald Reagan National Airport. Of course, you have the access to all of the corridors of power located in Washington, D.C. and in Virginia, as well as the lobbyists, investment groups, and just talent. As you had mentioned, talent and connectivity are just 2 of the things that this particular part of the United States has to offer. It's the economic engine of the D.C. metro area, center of innovation, with highly skilled and educated workforce employed by some of the world's leading companies here. So the United States does continue to be the world's largest investment destination for good reason. We've learned that success in the US market can help drive success globally. And I think you'll see that with the companies that are coming here and the global top 10 who are setting up shop or already have done here in Hyderabad. With an annual GDP of $20 trillion and a population of over 325 million, of course, pales in comparison to India, but still a real opportunity for new customers. The US really does afford the world's most attractive consumer market, just unmatched diversity, innovation, and a very productive workforce. So I know we were going to talk about maybe specific objectives or things that might get you to up and running when you do decide to come to Virginia or Fairfax County. I think we'll leave that maybe for the Q&A in the panel, who are going to have really concrete examples about what it took them to succeed and what their advice might be for future entrepreneurs in the area. Indian investment, as all of you know, and I hope that all of you will be part of, is just on an upwards trajectory in the United States. As of 2021, the total stock of FDI from India to the United States was $14.4 billion. And these investments have directly supported over 72,000 US jobs and helped expand US exports by $1.7 billion. And that's also a vital role of the Foreign Commercial Service and my colleagues here, as well as the consulate in Hyderabad, but also all of our consulates across India and the embassy in Delhi. It is not to just, it's to foster bilateral trade and bilateral ties, but also to really open up the US market to people who've been considering it, but maybe over the past couple of years with the pandemic and other setbacks, just haven't yet made that leap forward. It's really one of our core missions here, is to help you understand just how attractive and welcoming the United States is as a destination. Of course, with that question comes the inevitable question of visas, and I know that our Davies she's here with the immigration law expertise far more than me, but it's certainly something I'm sure is on some of your minds. I would like to point out that we are at the consulate just moving literally around the corner here in the financial district to our new consulate compound. Some of you who are from here will have seen this large building coming up over the past 10 years just nearby. A gorgeous building. There's so much space, and it's going to enable us to grow into where we want to be to meet the economic, visa, cultural, education needs of the US partnership in this part of India for the next 20 years. We will be able to open as soon as very early next year. We're just waiting on some necessary permits from the United States. And then we're going to be open for business. And so I invite you to come and take a look. We'll finally have our Foreign Commercial Service colleagues will be in the building with us instead of at the hotel, and to just take a look at what I think is going to be a place of immense pride for us, but also that will show you just how important we think the future is here in this part of India especially. I would be remiss if I did not remind you that every year the US Department of Commerce holds its Select USA Investment Summit, gathering thousands of investors from around the world to learn about the investment climate in the United States, and then to meet with hundreds of EDOs and all under one roof. And this has been going on now for several years. I've been part of it when we were putting it together in Mumbai. I have seen it being in Washington when we greeted delegations to include 138 Indian delegates this past year. We would like to get it even bigger this year. The 2023 summit is going to take place May 1st through 4th, so it's a little bit earlier this year than last year, in the National Harbor in Maryland, and I encourage you all to participate. And of course, my colleagues here have Andrew and his team, Theo and Sunil, they're all here today. In conclusion, I wish Fairfax County much success here in India and wish you all the best in pursuit of your US investments. And I look forward to hearing from our panel who really has succeeded and made the jump into this part of the United States for new clients and to help promote as well the bilateral relationship. So thank you very much for that, and thank you for the warm welcome to Hyderabad.
Thanks so much, C.G. Larson. That's the best of the leadership with kind-hearted. Before I introduce you to the next star for today, I'll start with some literature about the location Fairfax County. Yeah, so as C.G. Larson rightly mentioned about the connectivity with 3 airports, about Fairfax County gaining access to the North American market, especially to the tech sector, means you must have the most competitive and most strategic location, with, which gives you, apart from the 3 international airports, the close proximity to Washington, D.C., federal and government agencies, make it easier for the tech organizations grow much faster as compared to any other locations in the US. So as we mentioned, the 3 international airports, Fairfax County, US being the 4th largest US market, 60% of our population, one is graduate and flight within 2-hour flight. Coming to the industries, so Fairfax County is not focused to the, I'll say, sizes of companies. All sizes of companies grow equally and find the success there. So the key points about the location is, one being the corporate headquarters to the well-known names. Defense and aerospace is our core strength. Most of the names, major names from defense and aerospace sector, they have headquarters, homes in Fairfax County, and other sectors are engineering services, financial services. Government contracting is again one of the major strength of the location. IT, when it comes to cyber security, I'll say more than 80% of the cyber security leaders, tech companies from the DC area, they belong to Fairfax County. Then we have life sciences and telecommunications. These are some major tech companies with their locations in Northern Virginia. The best of the slide from the presentation, Fairfax County has it all. Whether it be it museums, attractions, the music, arts, nature, entertainment, culture, wineries, shopping, dining, outdoor activities. So these are the services, what we help our, I'll say, companies, India INC with, the information to help you with understanding the industry, the market, the ecosystem, the available incentives, and all the other aspects which can help you in considering the moving your home to Fairfax County. Then we introduce you to the service providers, chamber associations who will help you in the transition successfully to the US. Then site selection, we help you search for the commercial office or be it industrial flex space, co-working, leasing ownership if you want to start lean. Liaising with county government regarding permits, zoning, taxation, PR support, corporate and executive market visibility opportunities. We have a very old and well-known program called Entrepreneurship 101, where we introduce the startups or introduce the companies who have come recently to the location, and we give a shout out to them, tell the whole ecosystem how the company is helping the other tech players. Then talent acquisition, multiple workforce resources and services. On this, I would love to mention one of our key initiatives which we launched in the COVID year, that is called Work in Northern Virginia, which was basically to help the companies located in our region as well as the candidates, because the turmoil everyone of us saw because of COVID. So to hire them, and until now we have done successfully lot of job fairs helping the companies as well as the citizens from the US. So that's me, and my contact details in case any of you would want to discuss, know more details about the pointers I mentioned, the information. I would love to help you with all the information and the possible connections, as in when you are planning to go to US either for site selection or for probably kickstart your setting up the office. I'll be happy to help you. Coming to our next speaker, welcoming, who is our real life learning for life, business leadership, and success stories of over 30 years. Dr. Krishna Prasad Chigurupati, founder and managing director of Granules India Limited. I feel elated to introduce him, as he is a living inspiration to the entrepreneurs, leaders present among us today. He pioneered many innovations in pharmaceutical manufacturing, including commercializing pharma formulation intermediaries as a cost-effective product of global finished dosage manufacturers. Over 3 decades of his rich experience, which covers the usual setting up of a small-scale unit that went on to becoming one of the largest manufacturers and being an exporter to the US market since 1988. And with the only manufacturing presence, international presence out of India, which is in the most sought after location of Fairfax County. I'll probably close with a fun fact about him. He's an avid marathon runner and has participated in many marathon across the globe. In fact, in 2015, he, along with his partner, his wife, Srimati Mrs. Uma Devi Chigurupati, completed the World Marathon Challenge of running 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days together. This achievement has been among the ones recognized by the Guinness Book of World Records. Well, there are others, though I would love to, welcome Mr. Krishna.
Thank you very much, Dave, for your kind words. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I suppose I'm supposed to be a case study here. I don't know what that means, but let me share with you my experiences about Fairfax County and also a little bit about my business. Fairfax County always reminds me of tech. And every Indian company I see there is tech, and every employee I see there belongs to tech. And even here, I think, I don't think I see any pharmaceutical people here. So let me just give you a few facts about the pharma industry in India and our relationship to the US. 8 out of the 20 largest generic companies of the world are from India. I say generic, not branded companies. And India exports about 25 billion worth of medicines to the world, out of which more than 30% go to the US. I state this, ladies and gentlemen, just to show the importance of India-US relationship in terms of pharmaceuticals. And India also has the largest number of FDA-approved sites outside of the US, only country outside of the US. I think it's around 740 sites in India. And now coming back to granules, we are a pharmaceutical company manufacturing APIs and also finished dosages and something in between called a PFI. And we have large scale. And we have about 57% of our business coming from the US. And just tablets alone, other than APIs, we sell about 14 billion tablets to the US, which, taking into account the population of the US as mentioned by Jennifer, I think makes it 40 tablets approximately per person per year of each US citizen. So just a scale of what happens between India and US. We started our footprint in US in the late 80s. And after having done business with a few traders in the US, we decided to have our own presence. Then we set up an office in New Jersey. And we did well. We had great service to the customers. And about 8 years ago, as business was booming for us in the US, we said we should have a manufacturing presence. The idea behind this was talent. R&D talent in the US was quite decent. I will not say it's better than India. It was easily available. And of course, surprisingly, most of them are Indians who don't want to come back to India, but are available in the US. So that's one reason. And the other thing is there are a certain set of products which can only be manufactured in the US and cannot be imported into the US. So we said we will set up our manufacturing and do it there. And Fairfax was not by selection or not by plan. It just happened. We found a plant there, and I felt it was good, and I just bought it and started operations there. And this grew, and today it's not only the controlled substances which we thought we'll make there, we make a lot of other products there. And we have about 150 to 160 people. We are still expanding in this site. The site is in Chantilly, in Fairfax. And then last year we wanted to further expand. We wanted to set up a packaging site. And we had trouble finding the right place in Chantilly or Fairfax. So we approached Juhi. As always, she has been very helpful throughout our journey. She said, okay, if we can't find something in Fairfax, I'll find something for you elsewhere. And she found us a place in Prince William County, Manassas. And within a year, the plant is almost ready. Next month, we should start commercial operations. And not only Juhi from the Fairfax County, we also have a lot of cooperation and help from the current governor of Virginia and the previous governors. Both have been very kind to us, and Governor McAuliffe has visited us twice. And also, I understand the now governor is going to inaugurate our packaging site in Manassas shortly. And in addition, again, last night I was talking to Juhi and said, look, Juhi, I'm looking for another site. I want to start a liquid facility. And I think she's got a good job, big job ahead to find me the right place. So all this I say, it's been a nice journey for us. And within 8 years, we did do a little bit of expansion. And the new site is going to have about 60 people. And finally, in the next 3 years or 2 years, we may end up close to 300 people within Virginia. And we also have a site in an office in New Jersey. And I think the time has come for us to close it. Fairfax and Virginia has become our home. And again, my little experience when we started off here, this site was closed. It was not a running site. We had to get a lot of employees. And pharma industry, as most of you know, is mostly centered in New Jersey. And it was a very tough job for us to get people there. Nobody was willing to relocate. So we had to offer a lot of incentives and finally attract people. And the good thing is today, again, as Jennifer said, this place is a nice place to live. Not a great place to do business, but I think it's also a great place to do business and a wonderful place to live. Our employees who are very reluctant to move into Virginia or into Fairfax especially are today so happy. They tell me the schooling system is good, the standard of living is good, and it looks like many of them may not want to go back even if given a little extra hike in salaries. So I think finally, much against the criticism I had from many sectors for the last few years, I feel validated. I think I've done a good job. So thank you very much, Juhi, for all the help you have given, and my appreciation to Fairfax County. And I think our relationship with Fairfax and Virginia will keep growing. Thank you very much.
That's, I think, nothing can be a bigger testimonial than that. So my next guest, is very special to me, spanning over 3 decades in economic development, public leadership, helping companies, even helping the transition of many known companies and even startups into the US. I welcome my colleague, Ms. Juhi Naithani, who is the Assistant Director, International Business Investment at Fairfax County EDA. Juhi.
Okay, I think we have some transition happening right now, but thank you, Dave, for the welcome. And 30 years, that seems like a long time. I am 30 years old, so I don't know, I've been working since I was born. But it's a pleasure to be here in Hyderabad again. We have been to Hyderabad before, and we've always had a wonderful welcome here. Thank you so much, C.G. Larson, for your opening remarks and your very accurate and yet in favor of Fairfax County remarks, Dr. Prasad. Thank you very much. As they're putting the chairs here for the panelists, I wanted to give a few shout outs in the audience. I know that not only do we have Fairfax County companies that are going to talk here for the panel discussion, but there are some in the audience. So if you are a Fairfax County company, please raise your hand or please stand up, because we are very, very thankful for your investment in our county, and we welcome you to this forum. Thank you very much. And since you're here, Akhilesh, thank you so much for WTC's support. That's just been amazing, the way that you've orchestrated everything in this room today. So I am pleased to moderate this panel, which is on international business expansion considerations. And our experts today are going to be talking about their experiences and their advice on taking your business global. I will call on each panelist one by one, and if they could please join us on stage, that would be awesome. I will start with the ladies, of course. Zeenat Fofalia, please join me here. Zeenat is off counsel at Davies and Associates. So yes, we have had a slight change in our panel. Mark Davies was supposed to be here, but for a variety of reasons was not able to make it. And we really appreciate you making it in his place at such short notice. Zeenat is qualified to practice law in the United States, United Kingdom, as well as India. Her expertise is in US immigration law with a focus on business immigration, so very valid for this audience here. She's represented corporate clients, large and medium-sized companies, and startups across sectors such as IT, consulting, consumer goods, manufacturing, and telecommunications. She herself is a US immigrant and a naturalized US citizen, so she's very, very familiar with the process. Zeenat, welcome. Next, I'd like to call upon Niranjan Chintam, who is Executive Chairman at Kelton Tech. Niranjan. So Niranjan leads Kelton, and Kelton Tech is a leading global enabler of digital transformation. They have offices in Hyderabad, significant operations in Delhi, but then they're also in Reston, Virginia, which is in Fairfax County. So it's one of our success stories, just like the Granules that we love to talk about, and you'll hear more from Niranjan. But about him, he led the growth of Kelton from a startup to a global leader in digital transformation through both organic growth as well as mergers and acquisitions. He's a seasoned entrepreneur with more than 20 years of global experience implementing strategies for Fortune 500 companies and government agencies in India and the United States. Welcome, Niranjan. Not that you wouldn't know, but I would like to finally call my very good friend Srini Baireddy, who is founder and chief executive officer of Navitas Business Consulting. Oh, it just felt like it. So I know Srini very well. We've known each other for a few years. We serve on a board together, and we have many occasions to meet and interact and work together. Navitas Business Consulting is a Fairfax County company which is focused on driving strategic business growth through the expansion of its core service offerings in the data analytics and information security arenas. Under Srini's leadership, Navitas received numerous awards. If I list them all, we won't have time for anything else, but Inc. 500, Deloitte Fast 50, Tech 200, Virginia Asian Chamber of Commerce for excellence in delivery and innovation. And fun fact about Srini, he is here. We are very fortunate that he's here and able to join our show, but he is an alum of BITS Pilani, and he's actually here for his reunion, his class reunion. So thank you BITS, so that Srini could come here and join our event. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to move over if you don't mind moving. Yes, thank you. As always, I'd like to start by having each of you tell the audience a little bit about yourselves, your company, your role in the company, if you don't mind. We'll start with Zeenat.
Thanks, Julie. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here and among such esteemed guests. Appreciate the opportunity and thank you again. My name is Zeenat Fofalia and I'm an immigration lawyer, as Julie mentioned. I'm an off counsel with the law firm of Davies and Associates. We are headquartered in New York and offer global immigration services. I focus on US business immigration, and in fact, when Juhi and I were talking earlier, she very aptly mentioned the alphabet soup, with the H's, L's, F, O, and whatnot. So I'm going to try and keep it as simple as I can, and happy to take on any questions offline later.
Thank you, Zeenat. Niranjan, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm Niranjan. I'm one of the founders of Kelton. My role is right now I just do strategy and financial side of it. So anything related to financial and how US financial system works, would love to talk about that or help you out there. I lived also in Fairfax, so I have the experience of living there too. So and just like Srini, I used to live there. Okay, so I'm happy to answer about any questions that you have of the area.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. Srini, one thing I neglected to mention in your introduction is that you have recently invested here in Vijayawada. So please, along with Navitas and your role, tell us a little bit about that.
Good evening, everyone. This is Srini Baireddy. I'm a founder and CEO of Navitas Business Consulting. And I'd like to thank Juhi for this opportunity. This is the first time I'm actually in India, so I'm really excited. Navitas Business Consulting is a 15-year-old company. We initially started in Texas and we moved to Virginia. I'll probably in the questions and probably give more detail. That's one of the things, proximity is key. So when I moved here and we actually moved our operations to Fairfax, and this is now 13 years into it, and we are so glad that our decision was. Well, I wasn't sure it was the right decision back then, but things as we progress, we'll see how things happen. Right? So now, in the last 2 years, we have also started seeing a need for, as we grow, you have this inflection point, and we see a lot of other things that triggered us to have offices in India to sort of export our. So we are a services-based company in IT. We do a lot of threat protection, national security, public safety type projects, and we also have a bunch of IP that we wanted to expand into the outside of the United States. So that was the reason why we started offices here. And probably as we have more questions, I will probably engage in more detailed description. Thank you.
Thank you, Srini. And we're going to get right into the panel discussion. I do plan to have a little bit of time towards the end for Q&A, so please start making your notes now if you have questions for any of the panelists or any of the speakers that have spoken before. So I'm going to start with you, Niranjan. Tell us about Kelton Tech's US expansion, when that happened, why that happened, and what were the situational factors that triggered it.
So that was, I guess we started this journey in 2009. I didn't know Juhi then, so since I was familiar with the Fairfax area, I lived there. I used to own a house there. My kids were born there, so it naturally gravitated towards starting an entity in the U.S. We first started an entity here in Hyderabad, then Gurgaon, and then it was Fairfax. For me, at one time, Fairfax was my first home. I still have a lot of affinity towards Fairfax just because, like I said, my kids were born there. Today, my older daughter lives in Herndon, Virginia. Sits in Fairfax too, just so that if you're not familiar with it. So I do travel often there just to visit her and the business, right? Secondary, business is secondary, but primary for I guess to visit my daughter. Both my daughters went back to US for doing their undergrad. So it was heartbreaking, but I understood that that was important for them to expand their wings, and they decided to expand their wings in the US. So look, answering what Juhi said, why Fairfax? Like I said, right, it was a natural gravitas because I was there and know the area. One of the things that some of the panelists and also even Juhi did not mention, I will mention it, is that in that Fairfax area, you have the federal government business too. So in addition to commercial, you have federal. What does that mean, right? It is not recession-proof, but recession, I guess, will not affect that much there. Anytime some recession happens in the United States, the government typically spends money. That means the federal government side of the contracts, are widely available there. So that money is pumped into Fairfax County side of it. So it is not affected as much as the rest of the United States. So if your businesses, if they're not in the tech space, I understand, Indian companies may not be able to work with federal government in the US. But if it is not in the tech space, you do have that advantage of being in Fairfax area or the Greater Washington area, right? So that gives you a natural advantage of having some cushion in case of recession.
Thank you, Niranjan. And I'm going to take that opportunity and that segue to talk a little bit about, as you said, not recession-proof, but recession-resilient economy that we have in Fairfax County. Aside from the impact of the federal government, I think it's also the fact that we have a very stable local government in Fairfax, bipartisan, but then always in favor of business. And if COVID wasn't the best test for that ecosystem, then nothing else is. So you talked about federal government contracting. And I'm very proud to say that Fairfax County receives the largest number of federal government contract dollars in the United States, which for 2021, that figure was $31 billion. So that's the amount of federal contract dollars received within Fairfax County. And if you take the operations of these companies in other parts of the United States, the figure is even more. This is also a nice segue for me to ask you, Srini, since you are in that space, tell us a little bit about your business with the federal government, how you serve them, but then also when you were setting up, what aspects of that business ecosystem were important for you?
Sure. Right. We work with almost 6 or 7 agencies right now, federal agencies. Again, they all fall under the national security side, the USCIS, Customs and Border Protection. These are all. If you take the horizontal, it's all technology, right? It's innovation that we actually package and go to each of the agencies. The benefit of Fairfax County is one, like Ranjan mentioned, it's a proximity there. The density of federal contracting companies as well as the agencies is second to none, right? But then the advantage of, even if you are not going to set up, you can't work with the federal agencies, there are opportunities if you can actually strategically start working in that sense, because its underlying horizontal is all technology. So what I did when I started the company, we started as a private sector commercial focused company. But then the critical mass, once I have a couple of hundred of employees, then I actually started building the infrastructure to cater to the federal agency needs, right? So, but then what I saw in that as a derivative is you could actually use the technology, you can upskill, and Fairfax is so good in that aspect because there are other commercial customers. Like if your focus is financial, for example, you have Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Capital One, these are all headquartered there. And there's abundance of need on technology and the resources, and we capitalized on that in Fairfax. We kind of crisscrossed the knowledge of the resources, and we engaged hackathons. So that actually helped us to grow faster than otherwise we would have been. So that's one thing I want to bring up. And there are agencies that are like GSA, some of the agencies that still engage, folks that are H-1Bs and stuff on their contracts. So you don't want to limit, when you say federal, it's not just US citizens. It's just that you need to have a setup and you have to go through certain compliances. Those are all things that you would eventually, I mean, once you set up a company, you need 2 things, in my opinion. A local partner who can, on the business side, and a local partner on the infrastructure side, or the the governance or the impediment from tax or from setting up an office location, things like that. So that's how I did when I moved here. It's like 2 partners, right? One is purely for holding hands and working together to grow the business, only on the business front. The other one is all the other aspects that will make your company sustain and withstand as we go on. And one last thing, there are agencies that we need to look for who are not self-funded. It's just to add to your point, most of the agencies are, sequestration, for example, if those things won't impact certain agencies like USCIS or CBP because they're self-funded. But then there's a downside of that is a pandemic or something like that happens, then they're self-funded. So, but nonetheless, the underlying point, I still agree with Niranjan. That's more, they're long-term contracts. You have an opportunity to really prove yourself and expand compared to others. But there are also state projects. The state is actually doing a lot more. There's obviously, if you have to target your market and also your core, right? So if you know, healthcare has a lot of opportunities, public safety, starting from contact tracing to all this thing. That's where we are right now. We are evolving as a company. At every stage you can evolve, but I think Fairfax County has a lot to give in that respect.
Thank you, Srini. And I do want to let the audience know that although Srini made a great case for federal government contracting, we have companies like Kelton that do no federal government work. So the ecosystem supports both kinds of businesses, and it is definitely a strong suit for us, the federal government contracting, but we're not limited to that, as they've mentioned before as well. There's aerospace and defense, a lot of emerging technologies, drones, and life sciences that have a strength in Fairfax County. Srini, you also said a keyword, or should I say a key alphabet. You use the alphabet H1, and that brings me now to Zenith. If you can help us decipher a little bit of what alphabets are pertinent to business immigration and how your company helps businesses.
First, it's really interesting to get different business perspectives and also very inspiring to hear some business growth journeys. Um, so it's also heartening for me as an immigration lawyer to see that America continues to remain a preferred destination for investors, entrepreneurs, and foreign workers alike. Um, with regard to business immigration, there are 5 main popular business immigration visa categories for investors and foreign workers. And I will talk very briefly about these various options, the so-called alphabet soup. So let me start with the L1 visa. The L1 is the intra-company transferee visa. It is utilized by multinational companies to transfer employees in a managerial or executive capacity to a related US entity. What is advantageous about an L1 visa is that you can also transfer a manager or an executive to set up a new office in the United States. So for example, let's say it's an IT company that wants to tap the US market. The company can send a senior director to start a new office in the US. The L visa also provides a path to green card and eventually to US citizenship. So once a manager or executive has been in America in L1 status, he or she can get his employer to file a green card, if certain conditions are met. So the L1A allows for a maximum stay of 7 years, and the L1B, which is a category for specialized knowledge workers, allows a maximum stay of 5 years in the United States. The next is the E2 visa. It's the investor visa. Who qualifies? Basically, a citizen of a country that has a qualifying treaty with America is eligible to apply for the E2 visa. So under this category, the person needs to be actively running and managing his business in America. On an E2 visa, a person can live indefinitely in America, but unlike the L1 visa, it does not offer a path to green card or citizenship. Now, what do you do if you're from a country that does not have the qualifying treaty with America, let's say India or Vietnam? So there is good news. What you can do and what we have assisted most of our clients is with applying for citizenship in Grenada. Grenada has the qualifying treaty with America. And so once you apply for Grenadian citizenship and get Grenadian citizenship, that opens the door for you to apply for an E2 visa under the E2 visa program. So that is one option. The process to apply for Grenada citizenship is fairly straightforward, simple and quick, and we've seen that it is preferred by most clients, most people, compared to other countries. The third visa category, the H-1B, and I'm presuming that most of you in the audience would know about the much sought after H-1B visa. And in fact, multinational Indian IT and consulting companies are large recipients of the H-1B visa. Again, it's a non-immigrant visa. It allows US businesses to hire employees in a in a specialty occupation position. The employee needs to have, at a minimum, a US equivalent bachelor's degree. Similar to the L1, it offers, it is a dual intent visa, meaning that the employee can get his or her employer to apply for a green card, provided certain conditions are met. The H-1B cap, or the lottery program, opens in April of each year, and it is a lottery-based process. And once you get selected and are approved, you can start working as early as October of the same year. The fourth is the O1, and I'm not going to get into details of the O1 visa, but just know that it is reserved for people with exceptional and extraordinary talent in sciences, athletics, business, education. and the criteria for demonstrating excellence and expertise is pretty high. So if you qualify and if you're able to demonstrate high expertise and talent, then you can avail of the O1 visa if the other options are not available for you. And the last is the EB-5. Again, without getting into specifics of the EB-5, I'm just going to say that it's an investor visa. You invest a certain amount of US dollars into a US business and could potentially be eligible to apply for a green card for yourself and dependents. And I'm just going to, quickly even talk about the B1 visa. It's not an employment visa, but it allows limited business purposes, like attending meetings, conferences, negotiating with vendors, clients, etc.
Thank you, Zinat.
Sure.
So there is a reason why this is so confusing, because I'm already dizzy hearing about all these alphabets. But I do want to point out that where we add value, Fairfax County EDA, FCEDA, or any other economic development organization, is that we are here to support you if you want to expand your business to the United States. Not relocate, but expand. And I want to make a distinct differentiation there. The idea is that we want you to be like Kelton and Navitas and grow your business and thrive because you chose to expand. It's not our intent to, offer you an alternate life somewhere else in the United States. So for our purposes, what we see most companies inquiring about is the L1 visa, is the B1, B2 to so-called test drive or look at locations that companies are interested in expanding to. And from what I've gathered from my meetings with US Commercial Service and other commercial officers is that that is the priority for them as well. Companies that are looking to invest in the United States and supporting their visit to the US for that. So since we are talking mainly about business, for the two business persons here, my question is, and you can each talk about what your top 2 or 3 considerations are when you're looking to expand. In case of Niranjan, it would be expanding to Fairfax or USA, and in your case, the Vijayawada expansion. So Niranjan.
I think I alluded something to the effect of the financial, since I'm the finance guy, right? One of the things that I guess had a shock when I moved back to India is how difficult it is to raise money, be it the public markets, be it from the banks. Unlike, I was so used to the American way of doing things where, I had a good business plan, go to a bank or some funder, and I was able to raise money. Whereas when it came to India, I had to pledge everything that I owned. I kid around with the bankers here, and I had to pledge even my daughters too, to get some money from the banks here. So there is a requirement of collateral here in India for a long, long time before you prove yourself and say, okay, you don't need that collateral. Whereas in the US, the collateral is your IP or what we call the accounts receivable kind of a way, right? So it's easy to raise money in the US, either for expansion and or working capital needs, unlike in India. So that would be one consideration. Yes, when we initially started, we did acquisitions just like when Juhi was introducing me. So I did send some money from India. I made some lot of investments from India. But after that, my growth was funded by raising capital in US. And that was primarily by working capital and in some cases some acquisition capital too. Since I knew the system, I was able to work that system. Whereas if you are new to the system, please reach out to Juhi and or any other entity like Juhi's, if it's other parts of the country. They would be more than willing to help you, and they will help you navigate. I think, one of the things, I don't see Theodore here. One time, we were trying to expand into Scotland. I'll just use that example because I know Fairfax, I didn't have to use it.
and we had huge challenges of just opening up a bank account there. And it required help from somebody like Juhi to help open up a bank account. You know, in US, it is not as, I guess, stringent as what it is in the rest of the world, but equally, right, if you need any help like, simple as bank account, as simple as, you know, signing leases by, like Dr. Krishna was saying, you know, or looking for spaces, any legal help with understanding the local nuances, because there are some registrations that are required in the state and sometimes even in the counties. So those kinds of navigation, because we are not used to that here in India, they would be more than willing to help. You should reach out because that is their job, right? You know, like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be blunt that way, but that is what they do. So if you have plans, please reach out to Juhi to open up any of those things that you might need help with. So to answer Juhi's question, the reason why I picked US, because I understand the system. The second is easy way of raising capital there versus back home in India. I'm having huge challenges. I have offices in Europe. I'm not able to raise money in Europe. Whereas in US, it's very, I wouldn't say easy, but if you have the right idea, the right business plan, as well as, you know, you have some pipeline coming in, right? It's very easy to raise there.
Just to add before we go to Srini, first of all, thanks for the shout out. And he's absolutely right. That's what we're good for. Use us as your first point of contact to get familiarized with how operations are, how the regulation works in the United States, because it's very different from any other country. The good thing about it is if you follow the regulations, you know that you will succeed. You know that you will get whatever it is you're asking or you're applying for or whatever permit you're seeking. That is perhaps where the ease comes in. There is no hidden message. So as long as you follow what the compliance points are, then you're guaranteed to receive whatever it is you're seeking, which is why another thing that we say is, yes, we can support you by making you familiar with what might be required, but we do encourage you to get professional legal help, and that's worth the investment. People like Zenith who can guide you as to if you are looking to hire some H1 employees, how should you go about the process for maximum impact. Srini.
So I'm thinking while you guys are talking, I'm going to explain my own experience here, right? I think as we were growing several years back, one of the things that will happen to you is as you grow like any other companies, your focus will eventually change to certain other things, especially when you're evolving as a different company, right? Then your cost optimization could be one of those tactical things that will trigger which one. So our move to outside, looking at outside of the United States is a dual intent, I would say. One is for this tactical reason. I need to look at my bottom line. How do I bring my operational costs lower? And obviously, India is one of the easiest places where you could actually fulfill that. And then the second, which is more strategic, is we started looking at our own strengths and skills. And so when we start working at different clients, we build this IP, the knowledge base, and then we convert that into an IP. Then now we'll look into where else could I market this, right? That is when I have to give a shout out. What we did as an organization was looking at all these consortiums or any of these networking events we go in when there's international trade summits and sessions. And one of the sessions was with Virginia, Fairfax County. So we saw how do you export your products to outside of the United States. And this was like 2 years back. But it plants a lot of ideas in your mind. Okay, how do I package this? And then where do I go? So a year back, when we did this zero trust framework on security side, and the client, it was done for Health and Human Services, a federal agency, and it was so good, we started implementing in FDA and then CMS. And then we started sitting and said, why can't we make it as a platform, our own proprietary IP? And when we did that, now what else? Okay, now that we did the IP, what do we do with this, right? Then there's another thing called channel partner alliances, Microsoft, GCP, Google, your AWS. We have a very, very strong ties with them. it so happened, combining the knowledge that we have from the consulting services that we were in, and then also with the channel partner alliances, we landed at a customer, MetLife in Australia, which we never thought we'll go to Australia. Then those are some of the things where we saw, okay, maybe we should start packaging it and make ourselves more visible to outside. And as a result of that, we started our Bangalore office. So we made that office as I would say Navitas Labs setup. And then just this year we started Hyderabad for catering the Indian customers, like more like a revenue center model, which was not even in our radar. But again, sometimes you keep on pivoting your business depending on what tools you have. I think I'm looking at all the leaders like Dr. Prasad. So these are all examples you can take and start implementing on your side. So I look at Navitas and the whole leadership in Navitas. Our model is global focused, but local, what do you call that? You're still focused on the global side, but your mention is always on the local. So when you go establish another company, the single most thing I saw that I have to work really hard is the culture. And so you have to really start, embracing that company. India is easy because it's almost, there's very little difference in terms of US and India, but then going to other countries, those are some of the things probably if I'm sure Niranjan also had some examples in there, but I've seen apart from all those things, the compliances, the impediments from taxes, all that, culture is the most critical thing I've seen to retrain your workforce. So.
And that's well said, Srini, and I'm glad you said that, because when people come to or choose locations like Fairfax County, it's not just about the customer potential in that region, it's also about how accessible is that region to other markets. So a lot of times companies will locate to our region and use it as a launch pad to get access to other markets, to export to other areas. And another thing I wanted to point out after what Srini said is that once you're a Virginia company, you have access to whatever Virginia has to offer its businesses, whether it is export assistance or other things in terms of grants that are only available to local businesses. So there are many advantages to having a physical presence or a location, an office location in your target market as well. I want to just sound out the audience. We'll probably have time for 3 questions. So if you have a question, raise your hand so I know to call on you. And in the meantime, I'll come back when we're ready for questions. But in the meantime, I want to kind of wrap up our discussion. I'm very curious to ask Zeenath if you can share an example of how you've worked with a client in terms of helping with their business expansion as it relates to immigration.
So apart from immigration services that Davies and Associates offers, our other capabilities also include business incorporation and tax-related advisory. And so we offer our clients a holistic approach in that regard. And our firm has assisted several hundreds of clients in getting L1s, E2s, EB5s, and I'm more than happy to to discuss offline if anyone has any specific questions with regard to any particular visa category.
Thank you. That's wonderful. And my last question before I go to you is for the 2 gentlemen who are very familiar with Fairfax County. I want to kind of switch gears here and not talk about business, but I want to talk about what it's like living and raising a family in Northern Virginia.
I don't know the exact metrics, but I think Virginia has the largest number of wineries, and 80% of those are in Northern Virginia, Fairfax. So it's almost like 80, 90. Not that I'm suggesting. It's and I have twin boys. One is in Purdue, again in I think same space where I was, and he's doing advanced analytics and cyber and all that. And my other son is in Virginia Tech. It's like 4 hours from my home. I'm just giving a little bit of a tidbit. I love the environment, the ride, that 4 hours on the 81. I usually find a reason to just go drive to visit my son. That's how beautiful Virginia is. It's like I can't tell any more than this, but it's the camaraderie, the environment. I think I told proximity is always the key. When I say proximity, one of the things that our customers really liked is the fact that we were only like 2 miles from the IIT International Airport. So in fact, Dr. Prasad's office shares a fence with the airport. But my point is, it's within a radius of maybe 2 hours by flight, all the way up to Boston or down to Miami, and then 1-2 hours, at least for my federal as well as my commercial, like banking and healthcare is my prime domain. So you could actually reach your customers or have the customers come over, and that gives a profound impact when you're doing business as opposed to doing from remote. So from that standpoint, this is a great place. I mean, Virginia is the moment I've been in 2 other states, but then this is when I decided I'm going to stop here. So I don't want to be like a Virginia prostitute, but I'll stop here.
So my experience, right? I think when I got married, I was living in Amsterdam. And then I moved to Fairfax, where my 2 kids were born. So I had my first house that I bought was in the Fairfax area. The first car I bought is in Fairfax. So I have a lot of memories. I think one of the taglines that Virginia has is Virginia is for lovers. So it's a beautiful place. Whatever Dave has done in his presentation, he has not done justice, right? It is so beautiful, just like what Srini was saying, right? The Shenandoah Valley, the fall colors, the wineries that he talked about, or fruit picking, whatever it is, right? In addition to that, the schools. I think somebody alluded to the schools too, right? The Fairfax County schools are known very well all over the country, for the standard of education. But I didn't have too much of experience there. The reason why I say that is my kids moved back when one of them was 7, the other one was 9, and they went to Oak Ridge. So, but just to add to what Srini was talking about, the airport, the difference is is just like probably Hyderabad and Bangalore. If you want to go to the airport in Bangalore, you probably start 2 hours ahead. Whereas if you want to go to Hyderabad airport, it's like what, half an hour, 45 minutes at most. So that's the difference. Gives you to the commute. The commute is great unless you're going into DC, of course. But otherwise, it's a great commute. You do have public transport, but not like New York. If you have probably heard of New York, right? You're used to New York metros. It is not as widely available in Virginia, but there are metros where you can go park your car and go downtown if you want to, and it's very clean. Unlike other places, I've seen all over the world metros very dirty, including the big cities in be it New York, Chicago, or wherever, right, or Paris, if you want to call it. It's horrendous there, but these are clean metros, the buses be it, the trains be it. So it's a beautiful place to live. Would recommend, highly recommend. That is one of the reasons why my daughter moved back. Despite going to school in New York, she said, "Okay, I'm going." And then had a first job in North Carolina. She said, "No, I'm going to go back to Virginia." So loved it that she selected that. It was not. I didn't push her, but she still blames me that I steered her towards that. But that's the way it is, right? I always get blamed. But it's a beautiful place, so I would highly recommend. Living and working in Fairfax has been great, and I navigated both the commercial and federal space. I did work in the federal government as a contractor, and I did work in the telecom space and the security, information security, in the Fairfax for commercial entities. So I did navigate both.
Thank you.
I haven't been to Virginia, but the closest I've gotten is to DC. But from what I hear is that Virginia has some great community colleges.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the second largest in the country, Northern Virginia Community College, is headquartered in Annandale, which is also in Fairfax County. But then aside from the community colleges, just the 4-year degree colleges, George Mason, in close vicinity, you have Johns Hopkins, you have George Washington, you have Virginia Tech, you talked about, UVA. I mean, the list goes on, UMD. So So yes, that definitely provides that pipeline of skill set that Dr. Prasad also referred to before. But thank you for the for the endorsement for living in Fairfax. A couple of things that I do want to point out is my kids did go to the Fairfax County school system, so I can vouch for that. That it's nationally ranked. The #1 high school in the country is in Fairfax County, and then we have the higher education institutions. But I also want to say for all the businesses here that Virginia was last week ranked by Site Selection magazine as the #1 state for business climate, and CNBC earlier ranked it as #3 for business in the United States. So it's got a lot going for it for business as well as living. So we are very pleased to bring you this opportunity, not just because we are biased, but because we have testament to the fact that living and working in Fairfax County has resulted in success for people and companies like Navitas and Kelton and Granules and Decode and Amicus as well. So we're very thankful for you for being there, but we hope that Fairfax County has reciprocated as well. So with that, I'd like to thank the panelists, and I know there was one hand up for a question, so if we could get a microphone in the back, you can take mine if you like.
Yeah, hi.
I'm sorry, she goes first.
Hi. Hi, Juhi.
Hi.
Hi, Srini. So my name is Chetna. This is not a question. Rather, I'm tempted to add a point in favor of why businesses should move to Virginia. So I'm a US corporate attorney, and I help businesses expand their operations by incorporating and fundraising, doing the rounds, etc. Many of my clients, most of them are startups. They all want to go to Delaware. And I always tell them that they have no reason to. The ease of incorporating in Virginia, I myself am a Virginia law firm. You can incorporate your business in Virginia in less than 5 minutes for the same fee, and for which you're going to pay about 5 times more if you're incorporating in Delaware, if you want your incorporation done in 2 hours. But Delaware typically takes about a couple of weeks for a normal processing incorporation. And there is no reason for businesses to go to Delaware as opposed to any other state. It's just they know Delaware to be a popular state to move to, or everybody else is doing, so that's why they think they should go there. But there's really no reason. Virginia, I've lived in Virginia for 13 years. It's a wonderful place, and the ease of business is unmatched. Thank you.
I love this, Chetna. Thank you so much. Getting endorsement from your audience is a special high. So thank you. And sir, you had a question.
Hi, my name is Ram. I run a product software company in Hyderabad. We're heavily based out of India. Firstly, thank you for all the inputs that you all gave. We are just trying to test waters in the US. We are heavily in India, Middle East, Southeast Asia. We want to expand into the US. What's the advice you give to people like us who are just trying to test waters? How do we start? Do we just start a company, go there? Just few things that you would want to give advices to us, right?
Can I start? So I want to say first that no, I would never recommend that you rush to forming a company, even though we'd love for you to be in Fairfax. Definitely start with the research. That is the single most important thing you can do. And this is why I also said that you need to take professional legal assistance, and it's worth the money, because when you start in a new market, you want to start off right. So organizations like ours can provide you with a lot of information that helps you make an educated decision about where you want to locate. So one is the research of potential places where you'd like to locate. But the second thing that's equally important is having a go-to-market strategy, because your business may be very successful here and in the Middle East, but the US is a totally different beast. and you need to understand what it's going to be like to cater to that market with the solution that you have before you make the leap. And yes, with that, I'd like to open up to anybody else who would like to contribute.
I think you summed it up really well. One single most thing is creating the boundary of your target market, right? If you have a product, great. Now, I'm kind of twisting with the same message what Juhi mentioned. You need to go to a trusted source, like any of the counties, depending on where you want to go. You want to do a wide scan net to see where else your product could really have a market, but that's a trusted source. And then through the source, this is what I have done, and I'm just giving my personal thing. Through the source, what happens is, like today, for example, you got 2 companies that you could probably go reach out to. That is a comfort level, right? So your source is a trusted source through that, but then Juhi is not going to, hold your hand and take you to all the places, right? So maybe the connection you get is the networking. So the company who has done that before, and then you talk to them, and that's where you have the comfort level. Okay, you have gone through these 4 steps, so maybe I have to go through these 4 steps. And granted, it's not the exact photocopy of what other people have done, but at least that gives you the actionable plan on what to do. But you don't want to, like how Chetna mentioned, to set up a company, it hardly takes less than half an hour. So you don't have to jump the gun there too soon. You want to do your due diligence. You want to strategically align your resources, your need, and then you could come up with an actionable plan on. And this is not a overnight thing, right? So if your product is more towards VLSI or something like that, then you need to go into embedded system. That's in a different place. But if it is more on data analytics or cyber, then you want to go into Fairfax County. So it's like it also a lot of factors drive your decision making, right?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes. And that would be the last one, please.
Thanks for all the input so far. My name is Abhijit. I run a digital branding company. So I asked this question for myself included, as well as some of the clients that I work for. One challenge that a lot of us face here is that there are some companies who have symbolically registered a company in the US. So all that they have got is a mailbox, but practically no on-ground presence, and then no leaders in the US to really drive and spearhead all these activities. Some of us are relatively small size companies. So the leader and the power center is here in India. In this scenario, even we would like to leverage all the advantages that Fairfax County offers, plus the experts like you who help us. How do you suggest we should go about? Is the first step after doing the initial research and assessment, ship the leader there so that these things can be spearheaded? Or do you have another workable model where there is an appetite for investment from somebody like us, but then we got to have the right on-ground support to be able to grow there, and then the next level of people can be hired who can do the job, execution, etc. But at that starting point, the way we have set up and brought it to a level here in India, how do we bring it in the US? Sorry for the long question, but I just wanted to make sure the question is properly understood.
You can start. Thank you.
I'm trying to understand the question. It's basically you're saying for your digital marketing, or in general, you're asking for any company who wants to go to Virginia and establish.
Honestly, both. I serve a lot of clients who are predominantly India-based. The market is US, have grown to a certain level. Now they are stuck there. Obviously, it requires more presence in the US, the on-ground activities, etc. So I'm talking for both, actually. Sure.
I got it. But this is more like this is what separates an entrepreneur from a regular person, right? You always go to a certain level and you reach the inflection point. If you cannot think yourself from 10,000 foot level, you are stuck there. As far as the second point is concerned, it's not the owner who should go there, or maybe a sales or BD guy go there. Whoever can go chase that and win is the leader in my view, right? Sometimes it could be a all the way down BD person, or sometimes the owner of the company. That's the drive is the ownership of the task, not the company. Right? So if a company has that person, they will find the way. It's like opportunities are everywhere. You just need to be mindful and catch it, right? The fact that you guys are here today means you are one of those, right? You felt like there is something here. At the minimum, you take away something about Virginia out. But it always helps you in the long run, right? So these are the aspects I see for people who are driven, or these are the ones who are going to be the next level entrepreneurs. So to answer your question, it doesn't have to be the owner of the company should go and set something up. Among yourselves, if you're a company of 5 people or 1 person, then obviously there's no choice, it's you. But if there are 5, 6 people, you could actually brainstorm and strategize and figure out. There are a lot of things that play a great role in this, right? What do I have? And is this any useful in any of the places in US or even beyond US? And how do I connect that? Those are the 3 things. And then it's just the strategy, the planning, and execution. So.
Thanks, Srini. I just want to add to that, this is a very common question that we get from people. But there's one thing that we know about the United States. You succeed if you work hard, and only you can work hard for your business. I cannot, Srini cannot. So we can only introduce you to the opportunity. What you make of it is up to you. So we are very clear about telling companies what we can do, but also what we cannot do. And we cannot be your business development arm. You have to be a business development arm. And I'll go one step further. It could be a 5-person company, and it doesn't have to be the CEO that moves. It doesn't have to be anybody. There is no substitute to having a local expert to guide you in a new market. So I think that for Indian companies, it's important to think outside traditional, conventional methods. Nahi mera hi aadmi jayega. No, not necessary. You need to find someone with the expertise in a market like United States, and that's how it works there. Anything to add?
One of the famous adage that is there, I'll use it. Every employee in a company is redundant except the sales guy, right? If you do not have a good sales guy, you just cannot succeed. And the salesperson could be the CEO, the owner, or it could be somebody else. And like Juhi was saying, right? You can have a rock star in India, but he may not be able to be successful in the US. Okay, so you need to understand the local nuances. So there are a lot of expats, I'm going to use the word loosely, expats that have come back from US and settled in India that have knowledge of the US markets. You would want to start there versus, somebody who has no exposure to the US trying to go sell something in US. Okay, that is very important, when you think of expanding into a particular geo. It could be US, Europe, whatever it is. And we made mistakes too. I'll be very honest, right? And that is the important decision that separates from success versus failure.
Thank you. Very well said, and a great note to end our panel on. So I'd like to thank each and every one of you, Srini, Zeenat, and Niranjan. Thank you for sharing your expertise. And also our other speakers, Dr. Prasad, for your kind words. And I know C.G. Larson had to leave, but Andrew, please convey on our behalf that we very much appreciate her coming to the occasion. And of course, Akhilesh. So thank you very much. Round of applause, please, for our panelists.